There was something obsessive about it. I got a masculinity map and it said, this is what you need to do to be a man. As men, we're taught to be physically brave, but not emotionally brave. We're following these influences, but where are they taking us? I'm Will and I live by the sea. I'm a big football fan, so I do have a love of life. I am pretty normal in a lot of ways. My life is completely different now. Everything's changed. It was 2017. I was very isolated, completely disconnected from my family, and in particular my dad. And every day was like a marathon. That's what it felt like. It was a confusing time because the world, it felt like, had begun to express resentment to masculinity. There was these words like male privilege. That message of I'm privileged didn't sit clearly with me. I remember feeling like, well, this is a bit unfair. I just felt rubbish and I was in survival mode. It was hard to know where to turn to. And so I went online.
I'm down, I have no energy to work, I have no desire, and I just went online.
And I was struggling with some stuff mentally and at home. I looked and really went down a rabbit hole.
It was really entertaining stuff. Podcasts were life-changing for me. I actually felt smart for the first time in my life. In a world where there wasn't any guidance, I was getting really clear answers from these influences.
Work hard, believe in yourself, and you will be successful.
My mentor became an online masculinity influencer. So that was the first mentor I had. It was like, this person was like a father figure to me. They were like the dad I wished I had, but never did. They were offering me guidance, and I desperately needed that.
Being a great date is not rocket science. Got this. You can do anything you put your mind to.
I did feel relief. I felt a sense of belonging. It felt like a lifeline at the time.
Whenever I watch their videos, I just kind of feel like that spark inside of me that kind of like fires up, and they just make me feel like I want to get up and go do something.
Found some videos where he was talking about motivation, and it really helped me sort of keep going and push along.
And that kind of gave me an idea of motivation to uplift and inspire myself to understand my own perception and my own role in society and not become essentially a slacker.
And I remember at that time literally walking down the street and feeling like I'm a somebody, I belong, I'm a man. That was incredibly relieving and addictive. It was addictive.
Discipline your mind. Stop being a pussy. Unless you get up and work, you'll be nothing. Never sleep, never rest.
I found the influencers that spoke to me, and I just kind of religiously consumed their content. I was watching 2-3 hours a day and it just kept getting served to me. It just etches itself in to the mind in ways that I was completely unaware of. It changed the way that I was viewing the world. My psyche became a cacophony of influencer voices.
Rich or die crying.
Jacked
Own your shit.
I just wasn't able to critically think at that point. Anything I was listening to became truth, it became gospel. I got a masculinity map. And the map said, go to the gym to get big and ripped, build a business into a huge success, and then with those two things, you'll attract a fit girlfriend. You know, I had a very vigorous training regime and I did my absolute best to maintain it. And I managed to make some progress. I had a girlfriend that actually liked me, and I had a business at the time that was earning me money. And for that brief moment in time, I remember feeling great. I remember feeling like I'd done it, like I got somewhere.
The life of a man is insanely competitive. There's men all over the world who are grinding, who are trying to take your spot. So what are you sitting down saying, I feel bad for?
You can start off watching gaming videos, prank videos. You could be watching a self-help video. The algorithm's feeding you all this other content. And I remember coming across videos I had not initially, went in there with the intention of watching. And so alongside all of this direction and guidance I was getting, there was this kind of resentment in me that was growing. I had labelled certain things like feminist or woke, and there was this pressure to not be toxic. And that was confusing, because what does not be toxic mean? And if someone came along and attempted to rationalise with me, even if they had something that seemed really true, it was actually threatening my emotional attachment to the influencer that they were talking about. And so I got very defensive. It certainly impacted my relationship at the time with my partner. I developed this kind of worldview that I'm not wanted. I was bottling everything in.
Personally, I think that men find it difficult to open up because they don't want to be a burden on anyone else that they're around.
I really didn't want to speak about it, and I sort of found it hard to talk about because I didn't really know what to feel. And I sort of, when it came to speak about it, I was worrying that people would think I was sort of kind of pathetic and weak, that I couldn't handle it on my own.
Achieving what the influencers were telling me relieved the negativity in my head in the short term. But I built the house without any foundations. And as soon as a storm inevitably came, I was back to this feeling of worthlessness. I realized that the business, the girlfriend, and the six-pack wasn't actually going to fix me. I was either going to have a miserable life or an early death. That was the lowest I'd ever felt. Really. I just didn't know what to do. And I was desperate. I remember being sat in a car with my brother. There was a silence in the air, and then I turned to him and I said, I'm scared of what I'm going to do when you leave me at the station. And actually me saying that to my brother was a big step to start accepting that I needed to get support.
Number one, for the guys who are watching it, do you know what I mean? Their mental health is affected, I think their well-being is affected, but also for the communities around them, I think there's a lot of harm that can be caused.
For me, I think this is one of the biggest issues of our time, because not only are we potentially raising a generation of lost, disengaged, lonely men, but this also gets exacerbated by social media, which just fuels their worldview and their belief system.
There's a void right now for support that is by men for men, and that void is being filled with the attention economy, and they're exploiting that void.
How can we sort of stem the tide? How can we be helpful and think about opportunities to change individual minds, change some systems, change ideas about what's normal?
We are there to look at opportunities. We're there to look at growth. We're there to look for capacity. And I think that it's innate within every young man, and we've lost that belief that he can reach his potential, that he can grow, that he can find a version of himself that is going to improve his family, his friends, etc. That's the special sauce that we need more of.
I remember putting my laptop and my phone down, and this was the first time that I was actually no longer looking for something outside of myself, but rather I was facing what I was feeling inside. And that required a level of courage that I did not know that I had. I started to realize, oh my goodness, the online world had become my inner world. And slowly but surely I started to piece myself back together. The version of masculinity that is being promoted online by the influencers, it's very prescriptive. It says, do these 3 things and you will get this. And it's very easy to digest. It's coming in quick form content. Whereas we haven't quite yet worked out what it means to be a healthier man or healthier person. That's far more ambiguous. There's actually nothing wrong with wanting a girlfriend, going to the gym or building a business. But I was relying on those things for self-worth. And it was a very fragile way of existing because my sense of worth was entirely dependent on things that weren't entirely in my control. We need content that will guide boys and men towards what will actually help us to feel healthy and feel better. We need education at schools around how to critically think about things that we're coming across. We need to learn how to facilitate conversations where boys and men feel more able to share their views, share their opinions without that fear of being judged. Focusing and investing into the needs for boys and men will not diminish the effort for girls and women. We need to stop seeing it as a threat to equality and see it as a part of equality. Because if we don't, then the influencers are still going to have a hold and their messaging will seem like a lifeline. It's a collective effort. We all play a part in this. There's just more balance in my life now. I feel more stable. I feel more confident and assertive. It's freeing to know that there's more openness in my life, that there are certain moments that call for the more masculine parts of me. Stoicism, grit, discipline, and that there are other moments that call for something else. And that I, as a man, can have capacity to show up in many different ways.
Ooh.